Welcome into Steelers Latest, your daily spot for all news and information related to your Pittsburgh Steelers. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy the content to stay up to date with everything Steelers. But let's get rolling as the first day of padded practice wrapped up yesterday. And what was the key takeaway from that? The defense really thrived out there as the offense continued to look sluggish and struggled. Now, is this a sign that points to the regular season and this offense continuing to look like how it's looked the previous 4 years ever since Ben's retired? The offense has really been the detriment to the team, even the last maybe 1 or 2 years with Ben. The offense was the detriment to the team. So, not a good sign here early, but what we do have to remember as fans of the team is that this defense is going to be great this year. We all know this defense is star-studded and is going to be very productive this year. Probably a top 5 defense, at least a top 10 defense. I think they could easily challenge for the best defense in the league. So we got to remember that. Also, something else we got to remember is defense usually is always going to be ahead of offense this time of the year just because defense is easier to install. The playbook is way easier to install than on the offensive side of the ball. There's more moving pieces on the offensive side of the ball. Also, for new players, it's easier to learn the playbook on the defensive side of the ball, where in our most key position, quarterback, he has to learn all 11 positions for every play because he has to know what everyone's responsibility is for that play. And took him a little while to get to sign and be a Steeler to join in on progressing towards next season and playing next season. So hopefully he is able to store all that in the good old memory log. But we'll have to wait and see how Aaron Rodgers, if he is able to rewind the clock for us, or just be productive enough to get us. Just in the fourth quarter, he has to be productive. That's really all this team needs. We just need a couple late game drives to put games away, or steal a game late with someone like Aaron Rodgers. But we will have to wait and see how that all works out. I do expect the offense to get better through the rest of training camp, though. This is the first day of padded practice. Once again, the defensive players usually a little more amped up about padded practices to be able to finally get and hit the offensive guys. But let's move on as we talk about Rodgers. Him and Mike Tomlin seem to be forming or have had kind of a bromance forming over the previous years. First, started from afar. Him and Mike Tomlin always kind of admired each other from afar when Rodgers was on the Packers or the Jets. They both always spoke glowingly about each other. And now they're in the same building. They're up close and personal. And that bond seems to only be getting stronger, which is something you like to see. The new veteran quarterback and the head coach of the team easily getting along. Don't think we have any worries there at the moment. That's always great. You need your head coach and quarterback to get along. If not, the team's just going to be dysfunctional. They're going to question leadership. Players are going to question leadership. Can't have that. So it's always nice seeing your quarterback and coach get so along. And Rodgers even going out there today on Pat McAfee. Pat McAfee was in Latrobe today at Steelers training camp. Had a whole bunch of players on interviews, coaches, GMs. Rodgers really defended Tomlin heavily, called about how his critics are pretty dumb because, I mean, he's Mike Tomlin. He consistently gets the job done with less. So I love to see Rodgers going out there and defending his guy. And then Tomlin saying that Rodgers, this situation is as comfortable as he's felt at quarterback since Big Ben's retired. Love to see that. This connection, I think, also kind of forms because they're kind of two dudes from the last generation of the NFL. They're the old guard kind of holding out. I mean, Rodgers definitely the last player of the old guard, and Tomlin kind of he's one of the longest. He is the longest tenured coach in the league, so kind of part of the old guard of the league in that way. also. So I think that's where the connection kind of forms. Talking about Pat McAfee, though, let's talk about how TJ Watt and Cam Hayward were also on the show, and they are the elder statesmen of the defense, and they got to talk a little bit about Jalen Ramsey and what he's going to provide to this defense next year. And basically, this dude's going to be the Swiss Army knife of the defense next year. We're going to see him at cornerback. We're going to see him in nickel. We're going to see him at safety. He's going to be everywhere on the field defensively next year, which, in my mind, is what you love to hear because Jalen Ramsey is someone you got to be able to squeeze every ounce of talent out of Jalen Ramsey because he's just so talented. You got to be able to use him in different situations things properly just because he can really do it all. So if you put him in the right position, more than likely he's going to come through with the play. And I love to hear the Steelers are playing around with him everywhere on the defensive side of the ball in the secondary. It's going to be really fun to watch. I think a lot of the pressure this year in the secondary is going to rely on how Jalen Ramsey plays this season. If he really performs even above par. If he goes above expectations, this defense is definitely number one in the league, in my opinion. If he just hits the expectations, we're top five. But if he performs lower than how we expect him since signing him or since trading for him, that's where you start to think this team could kind of maybe not have a winning season for the first time in years. But I don't think that's gonna happen. I think Jalen Ramsey, once again, is one of the best cornerbacks in this league, and he's gonna ball out for our Steelers this year. Let's wrap this show up with the Steelers under the most pressure entering the season. I got five Steelers. Of course, the first one, who's under the most pressure? It's always for every team. I feel like it's always the quarterback. Aaron Rodgers, of course, new system, new team, final year, trying to wipe that stain on his legacy with the Jets, just basically clean the slate. If he can have a great season with the Steelers, everyone will forget about those two Jets years. Everyone will be like, remember that last year Aaron Rodgers had with the Steelers? If he was able to win a Super Bowl or something, instead of being like, remember those last three seasons of Rodgers bouncing around teams after the Packers? He can really do a lot here for his legacy, I feel like, if he has a great season in the black and yellow. Of course, he's going to be a Hall of Famer anyways. I'm just saying from fan perspective, he can really have an impact on how they see him in the all-time great quarterback list. Number two, Broderick Jones. Once again, I've been hammering Broderick Jones for a while now. He has to get better. This offensive line, if they're going to be a solid unit in the pass game this year, it's going to be because Broderick Jones got better. He's the blind side tackle this year. Aaron Rodgers, if he stays healthy all year, it's because Broderick Jones got better. It's because Broderick Jones is not letting the pressures get back there on the quarterback. It's because he's not committing the holding penalties anymore. We just need Broderick Jones to get better. He's under the most pressure, or else I could see him being gone here soon. Number three, Calvin Austin, wide receiver two entering the season, has to prove he's worthy of being wide receiver two, in my opinion. You got a couple players in Roman Wilson and Robert Woods probably trying to compete for that role, of course. So Calvin Halston kind of has to fend them off while also just showing to the coaches he can be productive enough to be a wide receiver two in the NFL. So we don't have to possibly think about going out and signing someone or drafting someone again next year. Number four, Jalen Warren. Once again, this one basically comes from just the pressure of a rookie running back behind him, who I think has a higher potential, higher ceiling. Caleb Johnson's going to be a beast in this league, in my opinion. So Jalen Warren, basically, he's under pressure to lose his starting position. He's basically, week by week, I feel like, going to be fending off Caleb Johnson from taking his starting role at running back. And number five, the only defensive guy, I think, Juan Thornhill, filling massive shoes in the loss of Minka Fitzpatrick. Minka was the Hulk back there at safety for so many years. It felt like he became a staple of this defense, and now he's gone. And Juan Thornhill is going to have to find a way to fill the shoes and hopefully get the same amount of production. Him or Chuck Clark, honestly, are going to be in that role, and they're both under a lot of pressure to fill the shoes of someone as good as Minka Fitzpatrick. But that has been it from Steelers Latest. I've been your host, Cole Dennis, and I will see you tomorrow.